Hey there! We'd love for you to hit that subscribe button. By subscribing, you're helping us spread the word and connect with more amazing people like you.
Welcome to We Be Parents, where parent doctors Matthew Letterman and Alona Pulday explore current parenting topics, share stories, and help bring families closer together.
Welcome back to We Be Parents, where we have honest conversations about the messy, beautiful, and often overwhelming journey of raising kids. Hi, I'm Dr. Alona Pulday.
And hi, I'm Dr. Matthew Letterman.
In our last episode, we cracked open a truth that many parents feel but don't say aloud. The overcommitment, the burnout, the way our entire lives can start revolving around our kids' activities, and how we're allowed to say enough. Today, we're going deeper. If you've ever wondered who you are beneath the hustle or felt like you're disappearing inside the schedule, you're not alone.
And before we jump in, please don't forget to subscribe. Every week we are tackling the emotional heart of parenting. And by subscribing, you're helping us get the word out there and supporting our work. So thank you for that.
Indeed. Thank you very much. Okay. So in our last episode, we talked about how you're not failing as a parent just because you take a little bit of time for yourself. But rather, we're living inside a system that demands too much, a system that rewards burnout, that rewards super moms, super dads, efficiency, productivity, what you do, not who you are, and one that defines a good parent by how much you're doing for your kids. We reframed the ARA approach and talked about acknowledging, releasing, and aligning. Matt, do you want to give a little summary of each of those?
Yeah, the ARA approach is first acknowledging that it's a systemic issue. It's not you. It's how often we were brought up and the culture around us about defining what a good parent is. And it rewards burnout and calls that good parenting. So that's the acknowledge. Then there's the release. Release is letting go of the roles that are weighing you down and releasing the beliefs that keep you trapped. Beliefs like a good parent never misses a moment, or the child will fall behind if we say no. Releasing your self-worth from being attached to what you do and how you show up, and that your self-worth as a parent is around your values, not the tasks that you accomplish. And then the align. So align is living a life that your kids can respect and imitate, shifting your focus from managing their schedules to modeling a meaningful life, letting them see the parent you want to show up as, not what you accomplish, but again, how you show up so that they can then see that. And it's about, how you're being, not what you're doing.
I love that. Yeah. And really this approach is a mindset shift, one that can really help parents almost give them permission to step off the hamster wheel and reclaim their life, their purpose, their relationship, their partnership. So we invited the audience to do something counterintuitive, to let go of expectations, societal expectations, expectations of themselves, and even the expectations of their children, and really kind of find that balance between caring for children and caring for themselves and caring for their partnership.
Yeah, and letting go of the idea of perfection as even a possible outcome. Letting go of pressure, letting go of the belief that exhaustion equals love, and that if you have more gas in the tank, you should use it, and that the only time you can take a break is when you're physically unable to do more.
Correct. And today we're going to hear stories, some from families who have successfully implemented the ARA and what they're sharing, and then from those who are still struggling to find that balance.
So let's start with the headlines and heartlines. I like these, the real, emotional, empowering stories that show you what it looks like to live, and break free of this trap of overcommitment in this case.
Yeah. From burnout to boundaries.
This is number one?
Story number one.
Yeah, let's do it.
Melissa. Melissa was at every game, every tournament, every fundraiser until one Saturday she had a panic attack in the car before a match. That was her wake-up call. Instead of quitting cold turkey, she started making one change a week, trading carpools, saying no to optional events, claiming her Sunday mornings back. The guilt didn't disappear overnight, but the fog did. Now she cheers when she can and rests when she needs. And I love that last portion. She cheers when she can because she rested when she needed to. And so many of us find that in not resting when we need to, it's so hard to cheer.
That Melissa stopped waiting for life to collapse as her director of what she does and doesn't do. You know, when you listen to the whispers before they come screams, magic happens in your life.
And you get to really not only enjoy your life more, but enjoy watching your kids experience their own life more versus you have sacrificed so much of yourself that then there's resentment that the kids are living this amazing life and here you are driving them around for it. You live vicariously through them and forget to live yourself.
Yeah, as long as they have an amazing life, I'll worry about mine when they're off in college.
Yes.
If you make it that far, you know, it's to me, this is the acknowledge and the release in action, acknowledging her breaking point, releasing the myth that presence means perfection. And just, it's so empowering when you start doing that. And it's not that she stopped supporting her children, but just making that new space is just fantastic. Just deciding that, hey, I'm going to set an intention to care for my needs too. There's all this energy in you. There's all these parts of you that have been screaming for attention and support. There's little kids inside all of us that want to be cared for too.
Yes.
So success story number 2. I love this one. The couple who reclaimed their marriage. So Tom and Vanessa hadn't had a real conversation in months. Their lives revolved around their daughter's competitive dance schedule. One night they looked at each other and realized they'd become glorified Uber driver. Uber dad. So they did something wild. They booked a hotel one town over and left grandma in charge. That one night turned into a new rhythm, monthly check-ins, a no dance talk dinner rule, and eventually date nights again.
Yes. Ooh, I love that story. And it's such a great reminder. They didn't wait for their daughter to need less. They decided they needed more. And they took that permission to protect their partnership. And I think that's so important. And I really believe that kids thrive when marriages thrive.
Exactly. Your kids will thrive when your connection thrives.
Yes. Yes.
So I like we started with the success stories. We'll jump into some challenge stories.
Some challenge stories. Okay. Our first challenge story. I don't know who I am anymore. Boy, can I relate to that. Samantha wrote in to tell us, I haven't read a book for myself in over a year. I used to love painting, hiking, writing, but now every waking moment belongs to my kids' schedules. And the scary part, I'm not even sure what I'd do if I had free time. It's amazing how often I see that in talking to parents or coaching parents. There are a lot of complaints around being so busy and immersed in their children's schedules. But when you ask them, well, what would you do with your free time? I don't know. Or they go on a date night and they talk about the kids' schedules. So I love that Tom and Vanessa, it was a no dance dinner. There was no dance talk during their dinner. They're not sharing celebrations about their daughter when their daughter isn't there, and they have an opportunity to focus on each other. And that is where that really amplifies how our identities get lost in these experiences where we do live for our children.
Yeah, and one of the key ingredients for depression is not knowing what your needs are. So it's so important to know what your needs are, what excites you, what interests you. And then it's important as well to start taking action to meet some of those needs. But the first step is even knowing what those are. And so many people we work with, when you ask them, what are your needs? They can't tell you. What would you love? Oof. Can I think they need permission to even think that way?
Right. One is connecting to their own needs. Then it's turning off the inner critic that is guilting them or shaming them. How could you do that? How could you choose yourself over your children?
It's selfish to have needs.
Now, why did you have children if you're not going to prioritize them
Yeah. And
at
then
every moment?
Yeah, and then a lot of us had parents that didn't support us in the way we want, so we go to the extreme to not be like them, and we wind up hurting ourselves and ultimately hurting our children when we show up in that way,
Yes.
all with good intention.
And we model that same pathway for them. They don't learn balance. They don't learn to connect to their own needs. They don't learn what it means to care, have their needs met and have care for themselves, but also care for others in a relationship.
Yeah, it's just so important. And it's a little counterintuitive, but it's just so important. I'm working with some parents now, and this one couple, they so want to just be there and be the everything for their young child. And the child has essentially learned that I can get what I want. I don't have to listen to what they have to say. They're going to be there all the time. Even when they say they're not going to do something, they're going to wind up doing it anyway. And then they wonder why the child is showing up that way. And I'm like, based on your actions, that's what they've learned. So if you want the child to show up differently, which I believe is very important, if you want them to be a successful member of society, then you got to show up differently. It doesn't matter what you say, it matters what you model.
Oh, I found myself in that situation oh so often where I think, I hear my jackal judgments. My kids are so entitled. How do they go around thinking that they're the only thing that matters in this world? And then I think, well, that's how I'm raising them, to think they're the only thing that matters in this world. And so the opportunity is really mine as well as theirs. And part of that is modeling to them something different. But it's uncomfortable at the beginning, as I imagine it would be for Samantha. It's uncomfortable to create boundaries when boundaries didn't exist before.
Exactly. And for Samantha, I would say it's not about doing another activity. That's the next step. It's silence, it's stillness, it's a small reclaiming of the self. Get back to yourself. Even 15 minutes can make a huge difference, because we go through the day, and then at the end of the day, can you say, hey, did I take time for myself? And to be able to remember that 15-minute break at the end of the day is so important. And I think most parents have asked themselves, they get to the end of the day and they're just exhausted and thanking God that they made it through the day. Now imagine if you could reflect, and if maybe that's a challenge for people, including Samantha. Can you, at the end of every night, remember at least one 15-minute break where you were still and silent and not worried about accomplishing anything, and just checking in with your body and your heart, and remember that for every day. And at the end of the day, remind yourself what that was like.
Indeed. And I like the idea of, if it's available to you, to get creative around strategies to meet the needs. Sometimes it's hard to let go of all the activities that the kids are involved in. But is there a community that you can lean on? Are there other parents that you can exchange carpools with? Are there things that your kids are willing to give? So, hey, kids, if we do this activity, everybody's helping to make dinner when we get home. And I'm taking a 15-minute break after, or I'll make dinner and you guys wash the dishes, or, whatever that is, where you're not the end all be all in all moments.
I like it.
All right. What's the next challenge?
So this is from Mark, who said, I've said yes to everything for my son. Every travel team, every summer clinic, but I'm depleted. And my son, he's starting to hate it. I thought I was doing the right thing, and now I'm not sure who I was and who I was trying to impress.
Mm.
And, Mark's story hits a deep nerve. So many of us confuse this overcommitment with devotion. But sometimes love looks like restraint, which I think, again, is counterintuitive, like helping our kids not be overscheduled. Mark's job now, to me, would be to release the pressure, align with presence over performance. Presence over performance. Start with presence and then connect to your child after you connect to yourself. Care for each other, identify needs, and then make sure whatever strategies you pursue are holding all of those needs, not some at the expense of others.
That's a really important cost that I don't think that we addressed in our last episode either, but this is a really important one, that in your desire to overcommit and be everything for your children, you're overcommitting your children and they don't like it. I was remembering a friend whose child was in soccer, and life became soccer to the point the girl really loved it at the beginning. And by the end, there were tournaments and games, and she was on 2 leagues, and she started hating soccer. She didn't want to do it anymore, which is a shame. And that was not a result of not liking the sport, but of being overcommitted to it. So that's a really important cost to keep in mind as well. We have some additional letters from our listeners.
And letters from our listeners is more questions versus these stories, which I always enjoy starting with the stories to get some of the pleasant celebrations and also some of the challenges just so we can relate.
Yeah, and some of the learnings and opportunities that we still have.
Have you had any experiences this past week or two?
So yeah, just recently I had that episode with Kylie where, she's already committing to so many activities and then she wanted one more. And finding myself getting mad at her for even asking in a way that I'm going to have to say no. And now I'm the bad guy. I'm falling short. So absolutely.
Yeah, that's the challenge for me when there are little requests that seem reasonable and saying no before I've run out of gas.
Mm-hmm.
To be able to say, oh, you know what, even something, this is not activities, but at night there's this, what about this? And just this, and can you just do that? And what about this? And now I go in and I tell them how many just one more things I have left in me. I'll say, okay, I got 3. Can you just do this? And then I'm like, at that point, I don't want to do any more, even if the 4th one is super easy. So we sort of set and manage the expectations around it. That's been helpful for me. The activities and the work, I definitely have opportunity there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, let's share some letters from our listeners. Here's question number 1. If I say no, am I holding them back? My daughter just got invited to join a travel softball team. It's a huge deal, but I'm already working overtime and we barely get time together as a family. If I say no, am I limiting her potential? Oof, that's a good question, one that hits us right in the core. Am I failing my child by saying no? I think it's really important in these moments to remember that saying no doesn't mean you're closing a door. It means you're opening a window somewhere else. You're saying yes to something else, saying no to this. If you choose to end up saying no to this travel softball team, you're saying yes to more family time.
Yeah, I mean, to me, a family's well-being is just as important as the child's resume. And you got to hold all of these needs. You got to hold the needs of the family, the needs of the child, the needs of the parent. And we got to collaborate as a team to hold them all, check in on all of them, and then let strategies emerge once we're all clear and caring for those needs.
Absolutely. I think that's a really important point, because maybe this travel softball team is the team, is the child's dream. And then it's, okay, if we do this, how do we also preserve, one, my energy and my resourcing, as well as family time? And it's really nice to get kids involved in strategizing together once all the needs are on the table, because maybe there's something else his daughter is willing to give up,
Yeah,
or her daughter is willing to give up.
exactly. So I like this one here. How do I reconnect with myself?
Mm.
And that was hard. I remember play and fun. I have this industrious sort of personality type, and I want to get things done and be
Just one thing?
exactly. I like to get a lot of stuff done. I like to be productive. I was like
All at the
play
same time.
all at the same time. Play is a waste of productivity time, and that was really hard for me. So how do I reconnect with myself, and what do I like? And I know you were pushing me for a long time, and it's been such a wonderful gift, doing something like improv where there's no reason to be doing this. It's not productive. It's not accomplishing anything. And at the same time, it's really filled me up and fueled me and provided something that I think for people who have this industrious pattern or personality type don't connect to. So it's hard for them to value it until you compare the before and after.
Mm-hmm.
So for this one, how do I reconnect with myself? I was asking myself that too. Hey, how do I get back to the ground there around the play? And they wrote, I honestly don't know what I like anymore. My whole identity is mom of 3. I wouldn't even know where to start if I wanted something just for me. And this is such a common challenge. Who am I? Other than the person that makes dinner and cares for the house and takes care of the kids, or the person that works outside the home and provides financial security and helps take care of the kids. But how do you reconnect with yourself? Who are you? What do you value? What are your intentions? What do you love? And to me, it's start remembering. I remember starting to think, what did I like as a kid? I loved joking around and playing and humor and making up stories and writing. So really connect. And if you can't think as an adult anymore because you've lost touch with it, try to remember as a kid what you liked. So start remembering instead of just trying to reinvent right from the start. What did you love? Try one thing this week that's not for the kids, even if it feels awkward. Try one thing. I know that was hard for me with the improv and leaving at night. And there was 2 nights where I wasn't helping put them to bed. I wasn't, they were like, Dad, you're leaving us
Again?
I,
Yeah.
and I was like, yeah, I'm leaving you. And, but it still struck a little bit, like it was a little hard. I was like, no, maybe I should try and fit it in during the day when they're in school. So again, try one thing, just start playing with how that feels. And then rebuilding identity is not selfish. It's very important to remember that. It's not selfish. It's essential. Who you are, that has nothing to do with your children, is important to rebuild.
Not just for you, but to model for your children. So in our last episode, I was commenting on how for the very first time, I recognized the value of some parents choosing to go by their name, not mom or dad. And I didn't understand it until just that episode, thinking, wow, yeah, that is then who I define myself as, their mom, and who they see me as. I'm mom. What's beyond mom? Nothing. She's just mom.
Just mom.
Yeah.
And your kids need to see who you are.
Yes.
They need to see that. And if we don't give them opportunity to see it, then we can't fault them for not seeing it.
Right.
They need to see you shine.
Absolutely.
They need to see Alona shine.
Absolutely. And if you are still stuck on that internal critic that's yelling selfish, 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 think about the fact that that's a really important thing to model for your children so that they grow up with agency for themselves, so that they can self-advocate and self-care.
And that's a good point, because you can ask yourself, imagine your kids showed up the way you did. Is that what you would wish for them? So do you want your kids to not know what they're needing, suppress their needs to take care of somebody else, to exhaust themselves, to be so under-resourced that they will snap or be tense or even have anxiety or panic attacks, as some of our clients deal with? Is that what you would want for your children? So if that's not what you would want for them, then show up in a way that you would want for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And our last letter of the day is, our kids get everything except us. We give our kids every opportunity, but my partner and I are running on fumes. We're great teammates, but the romance, the laughter, it's gone. How do we get back to us? What a great question. And I think this happens a lot, even if it's not in our awareness. We become transactional. We become really teammates. I love that word, because that's what it is. We're on a team kind of taking care of these kids together, but what is between us is really sacrificed and lost. I think in these situations, starting small is really important. And it can be making those micro connections, taking 15 minutes to just do something separate from the kids when the kids are home, and aware that you are intentionally taking time for each other, not them. A no phone dinner, taking a walk around the block, sitting outside and watching a sunset. It doesn't have to be lengthy or big, or it doesn't even have to involve leaving the home.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things that you and I do, is just go for a walk.
Mm-hmm.
And taking that time without the kids, which sometimes offends them if we tell them we'd like this to be alone. But again, with care, and we explain the yes behind the no, because we do a lot of walks with them. But you and me just getting to connect. Or sometimes the other day we just sat on a bench and held hands and looked out at people. And it was just 20 or 30 minutes of silent time together. But, our energies were commingling.
Yes.
And really, really nurturing and fueling.
Absolutely. And it's true. Our kids may not like it. It's going to be a stretch for them at the beginning, when they're not used to having that boundary of, yeah, you know what? It's not just all about you. I am going to not only take time for myself, but take time for my partnership. And it will be uncomfortable until it gets comfortable, and until it becomes the norm.
And it's not even that long. Like, it doesn't take that much time. I think we sometimes mistake, like, oh, we got to find time to go on this long date. It doesn't take that much time for you and me to sit outside for 20 minutes and just people watch for a little bit on a bench, or to go for a 30-minute walk. It's not that much. It really doesn't. It's not so much it takes time, it takes intentionality.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when you first started doing improv, and the girls would complain, Dad's gone again. He's going to be gone again. And now when they see the benefit, when they see how excited you are, when you share your stories and bring home games that you play that we can all play as a family, they are now seeing the value of that time and space for yourself. And they're excited for you to go and do that.
Yeah. No, I love that.
So it's also hanging in there and being patient, that when you change a process, it's going to come as a jolt to the family until it's not.
Yeah, it's like, just because you stop doing something else, if you're replacing doing, adding it with this other thing, it's not like you're not just taking away from the family, you're also adding. So you got to see how that new thing impacts the family. And often it's this positive ripple.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that.
And then you're showing your kids what real love looks like in motion, not just management. It's like this is love. This is care for everybody.
Yeah. And I know you mentioned that, growing up in a household where you didn't see much of that. And so a relationship meant being a teammate or co-parenting. When I grew up in a house where my parents, there was a lot of love between them, but the priority was still the children. And my dad had that same philosophy of, oh yeah, I'll take my time when I retire. And he never made it to retirement. So, that was a significant cost that hopefully most people will not experience. But even getting lost, there's the other side of it. Once our kids go do their own thing and we're in retirement, we don't even know how to define ourselves. We get depressed because our whole identity is gone.
And a lot of people's identity is their work and their role as parents. Mm-hmm. And they've waited so long and lost all of this connection to themselves that often they'll go back to working or helping care for other people's kids, or they start caring for grandkids.
Right. Yes.
They don't know what else to do.
Yes. So, Matt, what would be your takeaway, your one last thing for today?
So I like that your worth isn't measured in miles driven or events attended. It's measured in presence, in peace, and how fully you are living your own life. You don't owe your kids everything. You owe them you, fully alive, fully present, and fully human.
Wow, I love that. Your worth is measured in your presence, not the events that you attend. Yes. Yes.
Yes, I always remember PLAE, standing for, the P is for presence, the LA is loving attention, and the E is empathy. If I'm not sure what to do with the kids, PLAE, or play, present, give them loving attention and empathy. And that usually sends me in the right direction.
How could it not? I love that. Well, thank you, everyone. If you found today's episode helpful, leave us a rating and review. It helps us so much, and it helps us reach more parents. If you have a story to share, we would love to hear it. Email us at parents@webetogether.com. You can share a success, you can share a morning, you can ask a question. We'd love to hear it all.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Thanks, everyone.